Welcome to Daily Review, your daily dose of literary exploration. We dive into books that spark curiosity and ignite growth. And today, we're diving deep into a really fascinating and, a kind of controversial topic: dark psychology. We're going to explore some of those hidden forces of influence and manipulation that can quietly shape our thoughts, our choices, and even our relationships.
So, let me just kick things off with the pretty big question. Are you really the one steering your own mind? Or is it possible someone else is at the wheel? By the end of this explainer, I promise you'll have a much clearer view from the driver's seat.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll start by figuring out what dark psychology actually is. Then we'll get into something called the dark triad. Think of it as the three main personalities behind manipulation. From there, we'll open up their toolkit, learn how to spot these tactics, and, most importantly, how you can build your best defense.
First up, what in the world is dark psychology? It sounds pretty sinister, right? But really, it's about understanding the tools of influence, and crucially, knowing where that line is between persuasion and outright manipulation. It really helps to think of it like this. Psychological principles themselves are neutral. They're just like a hammer. In the right hands, you can use a hammer to build a beautiful house. But you can also use it to smash things. It's all about the intention behind it.
And this right here is the core difference. Persuasion, when it's done right, is transparent. It's a win-win, and it respects your ability to choose. Manipulation, on the other hand, that's a whole different game. It's deceptive, it's all about self-interest, and it actively preys on your vulnerabilities to control you.
So, if we want to get formal about it, dark psychology is the study of how people prey on others. But listen, it's rarely about someone barking orders at you. The real art is in the subtle stuff. It's about making you believe that the manipulator's idea was actually your idea all along. Think about your mind like an iceberg. The part you're aware of, your conscious thoughts, that's just a little tip sticking out of the water. Dark psychology often aims for that huge, hidden part below the surface, your subconscious. It tries to bypass your critical thinking to influence you in ways you don't even notice.
So if manipulation is the what, then who are the manipulators? Well, psychology often points to these three core personality types that make up what's known as the dark triad.
Now, these three are different. Narcissism. That's all about a super fragile ego that just craves constant praise. Machiavellianism is more like a chess master. Every single move is calculated to answer one question: what's in it for me? And then there's psychopathy, which is a deep, deep lack of empathy that lets someone chase their goals without a shred of guilt.
Okay, so knowing the personality types is one thing, but how do they actually do it? Let's crack open the manipulator's toolkit and take a look at some of the techniques they use.
This one's a classic. It starts so small, just a tiny, easy request that's hard to say no to. But here's the thing. Every yes makes the next yes easier. They just keep escalating, bit by bit, until you've agreed to something you would have flat out refused at the very beginning.
And never, ever underestimate the power of just repeating something. When you hear an idea over and over and over again, you start to feel immersed in it. And that immersion can actually make you start to question your own beliefs, slowly guiding you right where the manipulator wants you to go.
This is a limited time offer. Act now before it's too late. We've all heard it, right? Creating false urgency is an incredibly effective tactic. It basically short-circuits our rational brain by putting us under pressure, forcing a quick decision before we have any time to actually think it through. But the most sophisticated influence isn't about brute force. Not at all. It's about finding the path of least resistance. A truly skilled manipulator works with your own motivations. They don't try to push the boulder uphill. They just give it a little nudge while it's already rolling downhill.
Okay, now that we've seen the tools, let's bring this into the real world. Because look, theory is one thing, but spotting these tactics in your own life, that's where the real power is. And it all starts with awareness.
Gaslighting. This is a nasty one. It's a deliberate attempt to make you question your own sanity, your own reality. So when you hear phrases like, "you're just overreacting," or the classic, "that never happened," that should be a massive red flag. They're trying to warp your perception of reality.
And then there's projection. This is when a manipulator takes all their own negative stuff, their insecurities, their dishonesty, whatever, and accuses you of it. It's a defense mechanism. They can't face their own flaws, so they just make their problem your fault. And don't forget, silence can be incredibly loud. The silent treatment is a really powerful nonverbal form of intimidation. It's designed to punish you, to make you feel guilty and anxious, basically forcing you to be the one to break the silence and give in.
We've seen the dark stuff, so now let's turn to the most empowering part of all this, your defense. And this isn't about learning to manipulate back. No way. It's about building your own psychological armor so that these tactics just lose their power over you.
The number one defense, more than anything else, is self-awareness. Seriously, just by understanding these concepts, you become more tuned in to what's happening around you. You can spot the subtle tactics, and most importantly, you can consciously choose how you want to respond. You're no longer on autopilot.
Developing your emotional intelligence, or EQ, is like building a fortress against this stuff. It really comes down to these 4 key pillars: knowing yourself, managing yourself, understanding others, and managing your relationships. The stronger these are, the harder a target you become.
And please, remember this. You have fundamental rights in any interaction. The right to be treated with respect. The right to say no without feeling guilty. The right to set your own priorities. Manipulators absolutely thrive when we forget these rights. Knowing them and defending them is essential.
I love this quote from Richard Bandler. He put it so perfectly. Brains aren't designed to get results. They go in directions. If you know how the brain works, you can set your directions. If you don't, then someone else will.
Which brings us right back to where we started. Now that you have a better idea of how the brain can be directed, let me ask you one last time. Who is setting your direction? Thank you so much for tuning in to Daily Review. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing, rating, or leaving a comment. And if you're ready to dive into a copy of the book, check out the link in our description. It's an easy way to get the book and support the channel. Thanks again for being a part of our community.